Hey everyone, today, we're diving into a hot topic among Washington Commanders fans. If you're a fan of the team, you already know the defense was pretty shaky last season, right? We struggled big time, giving up points and yards like it was free, but the big question is, can the defense bounce back against the Dolphins? Hold on to that excitement, because we're about to break down everything you need to know about the players who need to step up in this crucial game. And look, this analysis isn't just for the diehards, but for anyone who wants to see the Commanders get back on track. So make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any exclusive content. Let's start from the beginning. Last season, the Commanders' defense was a total disaster. No exaggeration here, folks. The numbers don't lie. We had the worst defense in the NFL. That's right, the worst. We gave up 518 points, which is just unbelievable. And the yards? Ridiculous. We handed out 6,612 yards to our opponents. The second worst team in this area was the Cincinnati Bengals, but with a significant gap, allowing 6,368 yards. And you know what's worse? We also managed to be the second worst team in yards allowed per play, with 5.9 yards given up per attempt. These are the kind of stats that you don't even want to look at, but we need to discuss them if we want to see any changes. Now, if you think things couldn't get any worse, check this out. The pass defense was abysmal, allowing 4,147 passing yards and letting opponents score 39 passing touchdowns is something that hurts just to remember. We were, without a doubt, dead last in that ranking. And when it comes to rankings, being last is a synonym for embarrassment. This situation needs to be turned around urgently if the team wants any chance of competing on equal footing this season. But not all is lost. The good news is that this Saturday, against the Dolphins, it'll be crunch time for some players who really need to prove their worth. The game will be a showcase and at the same time, a trial by fire. One player who needs a strong performance is defensive tackle Phidarian Mathis. Drafted in the second round by Ron Rivera in 2022, Mathis still hasn't delivered what's expected of him. If he doesn't step up now, he risks not making the final roster. And let's be honest, this is a chance he cannot afford to waste. Another interesting point is the situation with defensive ends KJ Henry and Andre Jones, both picked by Rivera in 2023. They've got a big challenge ahead of them. These guys need to prove they deserve to stay on the team by making plays that impress the coaches and, of course, the fans. Nobody wants to see these talents being replaced without getting the chance to show what they can do. The pressure is on, but this is when we see who really has the potential to shine. And we can't forget to mention defensive end Clelin Ferrell. He's a curious case because he was picked by the Raiders in 2019 as the 4th overall pick, but didn't manage to show his full potential there. Now, with the Commanders, he signed a 1-year deal, essentially a last chance to prove he can be a difference maker in our defense. And if there's one thing we know, it's that he's going to need to give it his all to show Dan Quinn and Adam Peters that he can be effective, especially in pressuring the opposing quarterback. We also have to talk about Jamin Davis, a name that's generating some buzz. Davis has the chance to stand out again on the defensive line. In the last game, he made some decent plays against the run, but also allowed a 20-yard run, showing there's still some room for improvement. He's working with assistant coach Ryan Kerrigan, a guy who knows his stuff, to learn and refine his pass rushing moves. This kind of effort can pay off and maybe even secure him a spot in the starting lineup. Adam Peters knows the work is tough, but he believes that with the right effort from the players, it's possible to turn around last season's disastrous situation, and that's exactly what we, as fans, want to see. Effort, dedication, and of course, results on the field. The time is now, and these players have to give it their all to keep their jobs and their places in the NFL. Speaking of consistency, one thing we can't overlook is the importance of defensive consistency for the team's success. We know that a good defense is half the battle for victories, and the other half is an efficient offense. But let's be real, it's no good having a powerful offense if the defense can't hold its own. It's like having the fastest race car in the world, but no brakes. It might go fast, but the chance of disaster is huge. Back to the Commanders, it's crucial that the defense reorganizes and establishes a strong presence from the start of the season. The matchup against the Dolphins isn't just another preseason game, it's a golden opportunity for players to show they're ready for the challenges ahead. Every snap, every play, every tackle could be the difference between staying or getting cut from the roster. And the coaches know this as much as the players do. That's why the pressure on the players we mentioned earlier is so intense. They're not just playing for a win, they're playing for their careers. And folks, the NFL is unforgiving. There's no room to sit on the fence or wait for a second chance. The opportunity is now, and their performance against the Dolphins will say a lot about what we can expect from the team during the regular season. Now, if we're talking about expectations for the game, I'd say all eyes will be on the defensive line. They need to step up, especially against an offense like the Dolphins, who have their weapons. The key to the Commanders' defensive success is putting pressure on the opposing quarterback. If they can force mistakes and limit the time he has to make decisions, the chances of success go up significantly. And let's not forget the secondary, which needs to stay alert and not repeat the massive mistakes of last season. I know the fans are getting impatient, and rightfully so. We want to see results. We want to see progress. But the truth is, building a solid defense takes time, and it requires patience. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't demand immediate improvements. The game against the Dolphins is a litmus test, and we'll all be watching the defense's performance closely. If they show signs of improvement, it'll be a relief for the anxious hearts of the fans. If not, the concern will continue, and rightly so. Now let's jump into our exclusive analysis with some incredible details. If you're one of those who watches every play, every pass, and every move our Warriors make on the field, then you're probably already wondering what to expect from the next preseason matchup. The game against the Miami Dolphins is just around the corner, and the big question is, will we finally see our receivers shine? Stick with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the expectations, and of course, I'll share some insights that might change your perspective on what's coming. Let's get straight to the point. If we're being honest, every Commanders fan has already noticed that our offense has some obvious standouts. It's impossible not to talk about Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. These guys have been carrying the team, especially McLaurin, who with his number 17 jersey has become synonymous with reliability on the field. But after him, who else is stepping up? That's the big dilemma we need to solve before the regular season kicks off for real. Coach Dan Quinn didn't hold back when talking about our receiver room. He was pretty blunt. Many of our guys are fighting to secure a spot on the depth chart. And let's face it, that's not a good sign. When the coach talks about a fight, we understand that there's still a lot of work to be done. The problem is, no one is really grabbing the opportunity with both hands like we expect to see in a preseason. So, will there be time for someone to turn things around? Dyami Brown gave us a glimmer of hope when he connected with Daniels on a deep bomb in the first preseason game. It was one of those moments that make you jump off the couch and think, finally someone stepped up. But one isolated pass doesn't make a summer, and fans want to see consistency. Luke McCaffrey and Jahan Dotson also tried to make an impact, but they're still missing that extra something, you know? That X factor that separates the good from the great. Will the game against the Dolphins be their time to shine? So guys, the big question now is, will this next game be decisive? The second preseason game against the Miami Dolphins is the perfect chance for these players to stand out. The coaching staff needs to finalize the depth chart, and there's no better test than a solid defense like the Dolphins to see who truly deserves a spot. We know time is running out, and these last two games are crucial for anyone hoping to secure their place on the main roster. If we think about the ideal scenario, Jahan Dotson, now entering his third year in the league, should be the guy to break out. He's already shown potential with over 35 receptions and more than 500 yards in his first 2 seasons. The expectation is for him to take a big leap in 2024, but so far in the preseason, he hasn't progressed as many of us had hoped. It's that old story. He's got potential, but he needs to show it on the field and quickly. Dyami Brown is also under the spotlight. He shined against the Jets, but the truth is, this will be his 4th year in the league, and time is running out to show something substantial. The preseason is his time to prove his worth, and he needs to take every opportunity like it's his last. McCaffrey, who's still early in his career, made some good plays against the Jets, but he needs more consistency. Olamide Zaccheaus is another name that could surprise, especially after a very strong training camp. Will he keep impressing in the coming weeks? With only 2 preseason games left, the depth chart is still a mystery. The truth is, at this moment, it's impossible to predict what the final lineup will look like. But one thing is certain, the next game against the Dolphins could give us a much clearer idea of who's ready to wear the Commanders jersey and who still needs more time to develop. And that's information every fan wants to know before the regular season starts. Commanders fans will definitely be paying close attention to every play in the next game. We know the Dolphins' defense isn't easy to beat, so the receivers will have to work twice as hard to create space and make the necessary catches. I believe this game could be a turning point for many of these players, and if they manage to stand out, it could shape not only the depth chart, but also the direction of the season. Another thing we can't forget is the impact these games have on the players' confidence. A good performance now could be the boost they need to enter the regular season with momentum. On the other hand, an underwhelming performance could have the opposite effect. And that's why these next games are so important. They go beyond what happens on the field. They affect the team's morale, the chemistry between players, and of course, the fans' confidence in them. So, folks, let's keep an eye on this matchup. After all, if our receivers don't step up now, when will they? And before wrapping up, I want to leave you with a question. Who do you think will stand out in this game against the Dolphins? Will Dotson finally establish himself as the number 2 we've all been waiting for? Leave your comments. I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because there's a lot more Commanders content coming your way.